Hi, I'm Jay. I want to tell you my story about what happened to me during Christmas in 2004, when my family and I were hit by the Indian Ocean tsunami and I lost my sister, Kali. Before all the crazy experiences I just shared with you happened, I was a pretty normal kid. I played sports, went snowboarding, skated, and played guitar. I had a lot of friends and a lot of groups, and I was always pretty creative, skating, writing music, and getting into trouble. My mother died of cancer when I was 3, and I had a lot of extra time living in a single-parent household. I used that time to work on my own projects, whether it was building skate ramps, doing experiments, or exploring music. But eventually my love for music took over and I couldn't stop playing or writing. At age 14, I built a stage under the garage of my house for my band to practice on. I improved my skills by taking voice lessons and going to guitar camps. During the summer of 2004, I performed with my band The Future at a vocal camp, and afterwards, the producer Chuck Meyer saw the potential in my music and offered me a record contract. I was only 16 at the time. Everything was going well for me as I started my junior year of high school after that summer, and I was excited for where my life was headed. I was doing amazing in school and had my pick of any college. My music was on the fast track towards real success. But the morning after homecoming dance, my life changed forever. I went on a ride with a friend to one of my favorite canyons near Salt Lake City. Towards the end of our drive, we were in a car accident. The car rolled multiple times down the canyon and I broke my neck in 4 places, requiring corrective surgery. The craziest part of the whole thing was that I dreamt about the accident 6 months before it happened. I'd written it down in a journal and it was exactly how it was in my dream. That created a whole new facet in my understanding of life, but I sort of just shrugged it off at the time. I began recovering from my neck injury and started writing music again. I even finished a whole demo of songs before I left with my family on a Christmas trip to Thailand that we had planned long before my car accident. Before we left, I had another series of crazy dreams. This time there were 7. They all had water in them, and mostly I saw myself drowning in murky water while my family was on a boat. In one dream, I was staying in a beachside hut in a foreign country, and my last dream was of me at a funeral wearing only my boxers. I didn't know what any of that meant at the time, but it all made sense later. We left for Thailand about a week before Christmas, about 2 months after I broke my neck. When we first got to Bangkok, things started coming alive for my 7 dreams. It felt like something awful was going to happen and started to really stress out about it, so I told my dad. We tried to find tickets home, but it would have cost more than $20,000 to cut our trip short based on my dreams. So we continued on to the next leg of our trip, to the beach in Khao Lak. On the morning of December 26, 2004, 7 days into our trip, and 10 years before I launched this Kickstarter, a 9.5 magnitude earthquake struck the nearby island of Sumatra. The earthquake sent 40-foot tsunami waves radiating throughout the Indian Ocean, including towards the beach where we were staying. There was no warning system in place at the time. I didn't know what a tsunami was, and no one knew it was coming. That morning, my younger sister Kali and I were asleep in our bungalow while the rest of my family was out scuba diving. Kali's screaming woke me up, and all I saw out the window was a giant wall of water coming towards us. I yelled, "We have got to get the hell out of here," and ran for the door as it crashed into the bungalow. I was instantly submerged, and there was no escape. The water washed me more than a mile inland. I tried to swim to nearby balconies or grab onto concrete poles or anything else I could find, but there was no way to fight against its massive power. It was like being in a washing machine with bricks and wood, glass, razor blades, concrete, and shrapnel. I could have given up and drowned so easily, but I just kept telling myself it wasn't my time to go. There's really no way I would have survived it if I hadn't believed in myself completely. After 5 or more minutes of thrashing, the water finally settled out and began to recede. I got up and looked around for my sister Kali, but she was nowhere to be found. So I went to seek help. I eventually made it to a small health clinic to get treatment for the 8-inch gash in my right knee and the deep cuts all over my body, and to make sure that my recently broken neck hadn't been re-injured. While there, I learned for the first time that what I lived through was a tsunami. At the time, I thought that a tsunami was a wall of water from point A to B, and based on my understanding, there was no way that the rest of my family could have survived if they were out scuba diving on a small boat. For the next few days, I had to live with the unimaginable belief that not just my younger sister, but my entire family had been wiped out by the tsunami. I was 16, alone in Thailand, badly injured, with no family, money, or passport, and only a pair of boxers to my name. Later that day, I was medevaced by plane to Bangkok, 1,000 miles north of where my family was staying. I thought they were dead, so it didn't make any sense to stay nearby with injuries as bad as I had. When I arrived in Bangkok, I had a series of surgeries on my knee over the course of a few days. I was awake for most of them, which was just horrible. I had no idea how I would get home, so I called the embassy from my hospital room and started making arrangements to return home as an orphan, with no parents or siblings. A few days later, I got a call from my stepsister's fiance. He told me he had connected with my dad and my older sister Shanti, and that they were still alive. They were traumatized by what they had come back to on the shore, but they weren't injured. They had just been looking for my sister and me. I was finally reunited with my family around New Year's Day, after a week of believing they were gone forever. That was just one of the greatest feelings I have ever experienced. I continued to recover in the hospital while my family searched for Kali. We found out she hadn't survived when Shanti found a picture of her on one of the many boards with pictures of the deceased. They were unable to locate her body because of the chaos and the massive death toll, so we packed up and headed home to Salt Lake City. That's when my dreams finally made sense. 7 days into the trip, a tsunami leveled the beachside bungalow I was staying in. I was submerged wearing only my boxers while my family was safe on a boat. And the entire experience ended in a funeral for my sister. When we got home, I had a lot to deal with. I tried my best to handle everything, but my neck pain didn't improve and turned into a much larger and more constant issue than anything else. I fought the pain for as long as I could, and even tried to continue on with my music. It worked somewhat. I wrote and recorded the entire soundtrack to the game Top Spin 2 for Xbox 360. But when it came to my record contract, I just couldn't follow through because the pain kept getting worse. I felt like no matter how much I overcame, I just kept getting knocked down. Between the neck injury, the tsunami, losing my sister, thinking my whole family was dead, and getting home to find out that I now had a chronic pain issue to deal with, I sort of spiraled downwards. It was really rough, and I did everything I could to manage it. I tried pain clinics, Botox and lidocaine injections, experimental procedures, and even surgery to remove the hardware from my neck. None of that worked. I got stuck in this zombie mode, over-medicated yet still in ridiculous pain, and I couldn't really do much besides lay in bed for about 3 years. It finally got to the point where I realized that this was not how I wanted my life to play out, especially after everything else I had overcome. I wasn't going to stay bedridden indefinitely, not after surviving everything I had been through. My sister Kali had saved my life and lost her own, and that's not what she would have wanted for me, and I knew my life was meant for much more. So I got back on track. I got rid of the meds and found a regimen that allowed me to function again. The pain was, and still is, there, but at least I could manage it. I threw myself back into all the things I hadn't been able to do for years. I started playing and writing music again. I forced myself into college even though I'd been out of school for 4 years. And school and music really helped to change my life a lot for me. The change got my momentum going. I did well in school, I played in tons of groups, and actually lived for the first time in years. For me, that was one of the most important parts of my entire experience, deciding that I could get over what I had gone through. I committed to what I wanted, then I used my traumas in a positive way as fuel to succeed and create the changes in my life. I ended up finishing 2 music degrees in composition and performance. I learned more than I ever could have imagined about music in school, and I was able to use that knowledge to improve my old songs and write even better songs like those I plan to record for my EP. I was really on the path to getting my life back. I was able to write more music for video games, play and perform more, and get back to writing music the way I was before any of this happened. Now I feel like I'm finally back on the same path I was before, except now I have far more life experiences to incorporate in my music, and my knowledge of music and my musicianship skills have improved greatly. I'm now playing in about 7 active bands, teaching songwriting and guitar and writing music constantly. Everything I've experienced in my life, bad and good, has led up to this point. Now I have a huge catalog of songs I've created, probably close to 500 or more, few of which have ever been recorded. My real goal now is to get my music and the message I want to share with everyone out there. The message is that you can overcome anything you've been through, even if it's as crazy as losing your mom, breaking your neck, or surviving a tsunami wave. that killed almost 250,000 people, including your sister, who was your best friend. Even if it's something with less shock and awe value like chronic pain that takes a toll on you day after day. I was not just able to overcome these things actually changed my life for the better. I was able to use those experiences as fuel for so many things, as fuel to write lyrics, as fuel to write music, as fuel to do well in school, as fuel to know that I can survive whatever is thrown at me next, and use it to create a stronger, better version of myself. That's what I want to convey through my music, through this EP, and through my story. Thank you so much for taking the time to hear about my story, my music, and my message. Thanks for watching.